In the first part of this lesson, we looked at why the disputes of land might have caused conflicts. Now, the dispute of land was not the only reason conflicts began. So let's read about other issues that they might have had. Conflict begins. Disagreement over land was not the only conflict between the colonists and the American Indians. In many instances, the English wanted to rule the Indian groups. As you have read, the Jamestown, Virginia colony was within the territory of Chief Powhatan. He was the leader of Senacomaca and led a confederacy, or several American Indian groups, in the region. Often American Indian groups formed alliances for political, economic, or military reasons. He had unified dozens of groups of American Indians before the settlers arrived. At first, Jamestown was not successful. It was located in a swampy area with polluted water and lots of insects that carried disease. The colony's leaders were not happy with their colony's location. Conflicts grew between the colonists and the American Indians over land. As more settlers came, they wanted more land that was already occupied by American Indians. Captain John Smith, a colonial leader, imagined that American Indians would become subjects of England and also Christians. American Indians did not agree. There were 3 wars between the colonists and Chief Powhatan's group. The first one started in 1610 and ended in 1614 when Pocahontas married English settler John Rolfe. This brought peace to the 2 groups for a period of time. Chief Powhatan died in 1618, and his younger brother became the new leader. The English settlers continued to expand into Powhatan's territory, and in 1622, the Second Powhatan War began. The settlers and the American Indians continued their battle over land. 10 years later, in 1632, the Second War came to an end. The Puritans of Massachusetts also had conflicts with American Indian groups. As they spread further into Connecticut, they came into increasing conflict with the Pequots. Some colonists were killed. The governor of Massachusetts organized a large army to punish the Pequots. The Pequots attacked an English settlement, killing several colonists. The attacks continued for several more months, with both sides winning battles. In May 1637, the Pequot War ended when the Puritans attacked and killed the people of a Pequot village. The colonists sold the survivors into slavery. Our second reading checkpoint is requiring us to identify a cause and an effect. Now remember, a cause is what happened and the effect is what happened as a result of the cause. So we have to fill in the chart with the causes and effects of the wars between the American Indians and the English settlers. So if you look, okay, it has the 2 wars listed as the title. So one cause they gave you was that the English spread into Powhatan's territory. And the effect was that this angered the Indian group. Now, we need another cause and effect. So what happened to one group, and then what did they do in return? So you need to figure out what is the group that's going to go here and what's the group that had the effect. They had the retaliation or they did something else. It is going to deal with this one right here. Okay, so look into these details. Your cause should be something that either they did or the colonists did during this time. And then what was the effect of that, the second group that should be listed. When you have finished that, you can continue on with the rest of the video. So pause it if you need a chance to complete it. I'm just going to read the last 2 paragraphs in lesson 4 just so we can wrap it all up in one video. All right, so King Philip's War. In 1675, Metacom, a Wampanoag leader in New England, began a war against the New England colonists. Metacom was called King Philip by settlers. The conflict became known as King Philip's War. The result was a defeat for Metacom, in which many of his people died. Not all American Indians supported Metacom. Some joined the colonists in the war. Colonists accepted American Indian help, yet what they really wanted was their land. As the American colonies grew, settlers pushed west, clearing woods for farms and building towns. By the mid-1700s, many had crossed the Appalachian Mountains to reach the Ohio River Valley. This rich land was home to many powerful American Indian groups. The French also claimed the area. The stage was set for another bloody fight. So, in our third reading checkpoint, before we get to the entire lesson 4 check, says main idea and details, underline the motive that pushed settlers westward. So we need to look back into the second paragraph here. And it just wants us to underline the motives, and I'm going to highlight it so that it's easier for you to see. So in the second paragraph here, it says that the colonists accepted American Indian help, yet what they really wanted was their land. Now we want something that's pushing the settlers westward. So why did they end up going westward? Okay, it's because they really wanted land. Remember, they're expanding. They came to this new place. They thought they were going to have, their religious freedom, and we find out in some colonies that worked, some colonies it didn't. So therefore, people had to keep expanding in order to find a place that they could belong in. Now, lesson 4 is very short, but a lot of this we talked about in our First Thanksgiving book. So lesson 4, check. It says identify what brought peace after the first war. So what happened that kind of stopped the fighting for a period of time? 5 wants you to analyze how did American Indians cooperate with colonists and how did they come into conflict. So there's 2 different things there. You have to tell me how they helped them, but then also how did they come into conflict. And the last one is how did the Pequot War end? Okay, so what happened? That's going to be probably in your last remaining paragraphs right before King Philip's War. Okay, so that gives you a little idea of where to look for the information. All right, guys, we are almost done with your social studies packet. So see me back here a little bit later and we will be doing lesson 5.